Hey friends, welcome back to Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. I am Nate, coming at you with another review of a country I've never done before. We're going to go to the subcontinent of India, and we are going to try Paul John Indian Single Malt Whiskey. One of my local stores in the area, what we would call our chain in the area, it's local, but they have 3 stores. They have 3 offerings from Paul John. This is their cheapest of them. I think it was like $60 or $70, and they have 2 others. But this one is called Bold. This is Peated Single Malt Whiskey. It is non-chill filtered. It is from John Distillery's produce of Goa, India. This comes in at 46% ABV. It is 92 proof. As you can see, I've had a bit of this. I bought this probably around Christmas time, I think. We're going to give this a pour. So this will be my first Indian whiskey that I've done on this channel. To date, obviously, American, Canadian, Scotland, Ireland. Now, I have one behind me, the Brenet single malt here. That's from France, but I did that video. I had a tasting of that during my advent calendar, which is what made me buy it. Okay. We're going to give this a taste, or a nose, and I've already dove in. Ooh, yes, definitely peated. To me, the coloring, it doesn't say anything about the coloring as far as color added or anything, so I want to be careful with that. It comes off a little bit darker than what a typical... like an Islay Scotch would be, a little bit darker than, say, Lafroig 10 or Ardbeg 10 would be. We don't know the casking. It doesn't say specifically. Obviously, it's aged in oak. Yeah, it's not specific to those things. So we don't know how old it is. We don't know what... if it was aged in say a wine barrel or just regular virgin oak or maybe used bourbon oak. We don't know those things. I don't know those things. Could have done more research. That's all right. But it is peated. I would consider this to be kind of a light peat. However, if you don't like peat, you won't like this. And if you're friends with a peat, like that peat, this peat's different. I'm going to give a sniff of Corey Vrecken just to get... Okay. I was thinking maybe it's different than, say, a Scottish peated single malt. No, it's very, very similar. Although that Corey Vrecken that I just smelled was like very candy sweet peat. This is coming off a little bit more like Ardbeg 10 would be. Not quite Lafroig 10. I'd say more like Ardbeg 10. The peatiness, a little bit of brininess, saltiness. I saw a comment from somebody the other day that they just got into Islay peat or an Islay Scotch, and they were like, I get the peat but not the brine, the salt, what am I missing? It takes a minute to get used to that stuff. So peat is so aggressive. Peat smoke is so aggressive that sometimes it takes a little bit to get through that in order to pick anything else out. Same thing with, say, a high proof bourbon. You know, if you're a guy that really likes Jack or Jim Beam, both fantastic, both great. But if you jump up to an Elijah Craig barrel proof, even though there's flavor differences between those 3 things, the difference between the 115, 120 Elijah Craig barrel proof is going to be a lot different than the 80 proof Jim Beam or Jack. And that's going to be difficult to overcome right off the bat. Same thing with peat. Peat is going to be so dominant, you have to get a little more acclimated to peat, try a couple of other things, and then you'll be able to pick stuff out. A little bit of a fruitiness to this, kind of a citrusy oranginess. I like this. This nose is good. A little bit of the barley funk. Yep, that started a little bit on the mid palate. Then as we got to the end palate, that's where the barley funk showed up. Love that. If you gave this to me I would not tell you. I would just say, oh, that's a decent Islay Scotch. It's not, as far as proof goes. Again, Scotches are typically lower proof as well. Not always, but some are. So I'm not. It's not paying outside the lines. This is a really good. There's a silky. They used a word on the back in part of the marketing that said silky, and I was going to say smooth, but then I read the word as I was about to speak it. Yeah, it's silky smooth. That's really good. On the taste, I am not getting brine. Maybe a little on the finish. But where an Islay, it's more, the brine is very much a part of it, because a small island off the coast in the ocean. Whereas India, I don't know where the distillery is. Obviously, India is massive, but it's really only got the one side that's water, and the rest of it's land. So I don't know where in India this is from. I could look that up. It's Goa. I'm sure I could look that up and find that pretty easily. But I'm not getting really a lot of brine. I got a little bit more on the nose, and maybe that's just because sometimes Islay can be deceiving. Where I'm not really getting any of the brininess on the taste now. The smoke is still there. Honestly, if I had to compare this, I'm now leaning more towards, say, a Highland Park 12, which is not labeled as a peated Scotch. It's a Highland. Really should be Island. I'm not going to get into that. Let me give a nose to that. Because on the taste, it reminded me more of something that was kind of lightly peated. Okay, nope, I was wrong. There's a lot less of the peat on that. Let me Glenfiddich 12. I don't need to be jumping around on you guys about this. Okay, more Glenfiddich 12, but not as much. I'm really grasping here, and I didn't mean to do that. I'm done reaching for my other scotches. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, Ardbeg 10. Maybe if Ardbeg 10 and Highland Park 12 were blended together. A little bit of fruitiness on that, kind of juicy fruitiness. Not the gum, not juicy fruit, but juicy fruit. That's good. I like that a lot. I believe this was $65 in my area, and there were 2 other offerings that they had that were higher priced. I recommend this. I recommend expanding if you are a person that likes peated Scotch, first off, you have to like single malt, so you have to like Scotch. And then even within that, you have to like peated Scotch. I would give this a recommendation. If you don't like Scotch, don't do it. You don't like single malt, don't do it. You don't like peat, don't do it. For those of you that are, you're my people. And even if you don't, you're still my people. But if you do like, if you're into that niche like I am, this is a must try. A must try. It's not something I'm going to have all the time. It's just something cool to have that's a little bit different. A little bit different to try. All right, so that has been Paul John Bold Peated Single Malt Whiskey. This has been Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. See you next time.